The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade.
That's
The Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle.
He could always be found in the backyard. The bases he'd round until it grew too dark.
Welcome to The Marinade with Jason Earle, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. This is a bonus episode, and our guest is Cody Diekhoff, better known as Chicago Farmer.
But he got instead 95 miles an hour right into his head. He hobbled down to first with a lump on his face.
Chicago Farmer's record Flyover Country was released just 2 days ago. We've been fans of his for a few years, and this is the best thing he's released. It's got country, it has folk, there's some gospel. It's just a great record, and I'm so excited we had a chance to chat with Cody. Flyover Country was recorded with the Band of Heathens in Austin, Texas. If you listen to this show, you may remember that the Band of Heathens was also involved in Reed Fail's excellent record last year, which Cody and I touch on briefly. We caught up with Cody by phone while he was in the green room awaiting his show in support of the great Todd Snider. And as you will hear, Cody is a delightful person, and I am excited to bring you this conversation.
And even though the school's on the wrong side of the tracks, she crossed over, she came and gave back. We knew she could have left, but she stuck around.
A few quick requests before we get to our conversation with Cody. Please give The Marinade a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We love interacting over there with fans of the show. Tell a friend about the show, give us a rating, and subscribe on your podcast app. Those are all free, painless ways that you can be a huge help in getting the word out about The Marinade. If you really like what we're doing, please consider joining our Patreon community. For just a few bucks a month, you can gain access to Patreon-exclusive perks like Marinade swag and our Patreon-only show, Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that have shaped my creative life. All right, y'all, let's get to my conversation with Chicago Farmer. The song you're hearing in this episode is Dirtiest Uniforms off of Chicago Farmer's excellent new record, which you can listen to wherever you consume music and purchase at chicagofarmer.com.
Something to be. I'd watch him play, listen to her teach, and I set out on my way to practice what they preach. So I heard my calling, and I found my thing. Now I spend my nights falling down trying to sing. But I get back up, just like they taught, and I keep on working with the tools that I've got. With the prettiest voice, I wasn't born, but I'll have the dirtiest uniform. With the prettiest voice, I wasn't born, but I'll have the dirtiest uniform. Names in the lights, get out the van. Yet another night, playing in the band, putting in the miles, living the dream. It's all been worthwhile, the times we took one for the team. With the catchiest sound, we weren't born. We've got the dirtiest uniforms. With the catchiest sound, we weren't born. We've got the dirtiest uniforms. Oh, the catchiest songs we don't perform. We've got the dirtiest uniforms. Oh, the catchiest songs. We don't perform, but we've got the dirtiest uniform.
Hello.
Hey, this is Jason Earle from the Marinade podcast, calling for Cody.
Jason, this is. Thanks for calling, man.
Man, thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited. I've been wanting to catch up with you ever since I got a copy of Midwest Side Stories a few years ago, and so this is quite an honor, man. I'm bummed I didn't get to catch up with you in person in Ponte Vedra, but I'm so excited to talk to you now.
Oh, yeah, man. Thanks so much. That was a while ago, the Midwest Side Story, so thanks for sticking with me.
Well, that's a great record, but this in my mind is the best thing I've heard you do. Flyover Country. I've gotten a chance to listen to it the last week or so, and man, what a record.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Comes out a week from today, February 7th, and we're just trying to get everything together for that and the big celebration, release and whatnot. So thanks so much.
Yeah, for sure. It's there's so much to talk about, and I want to kind of start with the title track because I feel like the title track is such a standout, and it's one of, and it's true of the whole record, but it's one of those that really shows off kind of how you were looking to go in a different direction, and the fact that you wanted a band and that you wanted that band to be damn good, and of course you went out and found one of the best. Which is pretty incredible. But what inspired that? Like why that direction? How'd you end up with that kind of view in mind?
Sure, yeah. Sometimes, I write songs like Flyover Country, which is kind of in a waltz time. That's kind of, it's kind of a slow waltz. But I knew that if I would take some of those songs on my own and just play them, they might not have the power to them that somebody like the Band of Heathens could add. Mm-hmm. So I felt like to really make the art powerful, but also get my message across with something was like these. Like the Heathens can rock out hard, but they also, I found opening up for them so many times that they can play kind of these slow songs that typically just on acoustic guitar might not move you, but they get this power behind this band, that really behind the song, and it really pushes it forward. So for that song in particular, I really couldn't wait to get in the studio and built that one out with those guys. Just it was completely different than anything I've ever done before. So I kind of had that vision, and it kind of came together.
Are you hearing that when you're writing the song or as the song's kind of developing, or are you taking sort of the skeletal idea of the song to the Band of Heathens and going, all right, here's kind of where I'm going with this, do your magic?
No, I think I knew the sound right when I wrote it that I was looking for, and then I was like, okay, how do I capture it? And I felt like I could capture some of these sounds just going in the studio with some of my friends and whatnot, but I just feel like those guys are so versatile that I wanted it to sound like an album, but I wanted each song to stand out on its own too, and I was capable to do that, because of them for sure.
What does that look like when you guys are sitting down to do it? Are you because I feel like if I remember correctly, last time I talked, I think Reed Fail worked with them on his last record. Yeah,
he did.
And I feel like if I remember correctly that he said they basically kind of did it live. And I hope I'm not misquoting him here. But it's on record somewhere, so people can go back and listen to my conversation with Reed and figure out if I'm lying or not. But is that kind of what the process looked like? Are y'all getting in there and jamming and just kind of making it happen? Or what did the actual process look like, granular?
Yeah, it was similar to that. And I've actually heard that record, too. It's a beautiful album. I love that one.
Yeah.
And it's another testament to the Heathens and how versatile they can be. So I went into like a little recording studio in Bloomington, Illinois, where I live, and I recorded all 10 songs, just me on the guitar. And I did send it to them, a few weeks in advance. But really, it was similar to that process of getting in the studio. We locked ourselves in there for 5 days, and so we would kind of talk back and forth and bounce ideas on what the song needed and what the song wanted and what it called for. And so, yeah, a lot of it was kind of on the fly. And if we started doing something and we didn't like it, then we would totally change gears. And but pretty much everything we did really flowed nicely and worked really well together. And every chance we took was a chance taken, and it worked out.
Oh, the result's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I've never recorded an album this way. Usually what I do is I'll record a song or two, like in Chicago, and then I'll go hit the road, and and then I'll come back and record 2 or more songs. So just to lock myself in a studio with those guys for 5 days, it was a whole nother experience for me. So it was great to work with a bunch of pros, because getting on an airplane and flying from Chicago to Austin with your guitar, not knowing what in the world's going to happen in the next 5 days, get back on the plane with your guitar and fly back from Austin to Chicago, and kind of have what we did. It was a good feeling.
Can you say more about that? Were you anxious at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was very stressed.
Really?
I was really stressed out about, because it was kind of like, this is kind of like my life savings, and kind of like my things on the line here. It's like whatever I come home with is what's going to have to be. So it could be good or it could be garbage.
Yeah.
You don't know. But I had a buddy named Chris Harden, and he was the engineer, and we had worked together many times. So he had my back, and that puts me in a nice, comfortable situation. He challenges me, but he's also somebody I've worked with many times and respect. So he was the engineer, and he really helped me out, and just touring with the Heathens and opening for them several times. We got to be really close too, and so it definitely set my mind at ease once we got everything set up and hit record. I was good to go, but leading up to that, it was yeah, my mind was kind of a wreck.
Have you experienced that kind of thing much before? That sort of that anxiety about something creative like that? Is that commonplace for you, or is that because of the difference in how you recorded this one? Is that what kind of brought it out?
Yeah, I think so. I've never really had like a record label or been on like a time crunch, or had like a deadline or anything like that.
Yeah.
I have like a manager and a booking agent and stuff like that, but usually everything I do is just on my own and at my own pace. And so for this to happen, I had to be in that window, and I think that's what really got me.
Yeah.
I've been playing gigs for forever. Right now I'm on tour with Todd Snider, and I get a little bit, the jitters still before I go on stage, but that doesn't last too long. But this one got to me. So
what did you
now? But now it's over. Now we're getting all the reward for all the risk, and so now I could be happier about it. So.
That's awesome, man. And that's how it always happens, right? It's like all of that worry for fucking nothing. There's no reason. Wow.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Right now I'm on the road with my wife and our dog, and my wife will tell you sometimes I get a little stressed before the show, and I get a little chirpy probably sometimes.
So what do you do?
And then we get to the beautiful venue, and then we get on stage, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's just right where we need to be, So it's all for nothing. But at the same time, I think it's healthy to have those nerves and those jitters and that anxiety. It's all fuel for the fire that you're about to expose.
Okay, so do you work on it at all? Like, is there anything you do, meditation or breathing exercises or anything to get you right, or you just let it roll and then get up on stage?
Yeah, once I get the guitar out of the case and start humming around a little bit and singing a little bit and strumming chords, and it all kind of calms down. Mm-hmm. Usually when it's like halfway through the first song, that's when I know that it was all worrying for nothing,
Yeah, and I was just talking about this last night. I sat down with Emily Wolfe. If you haven't listened to her self-titled record, I highly recommend it. But she, cool. We were talking about just stress and anxiety and that kind of thing, and she was talking about how there's something to even just the vibration of the guitar against her. Like if she's feeling stress, and she just picks up her guitar and plays it, and to feel it there and to have it, there's something so calming about it, and I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Yeah, we're being a musician's funny. You complain for years and years about wanting to get an audience to come sit down and really listen to you, and then when it happens, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm scared as hell.
These people are listening to my deepest, darkest thoughts.
Yeah, it's so quiet right now. Everybody's listening to me. Oh my God, what do I do now?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is what I've been wanting for like a decade.
Gotta find something else to complain about.
Yeah, we're a funny bunch of people. We really have it pretty good. It's a crazy life.
I love that attitude. What does your process look like typically? Are you a sit down and do the work kind of person when it comes to writing?
Yeah, I don't write every day, but I kind of go in spurts. But once I get an idea flowing, like right now, we've been on the road since the 15th of January, so I haven't even had a second because of all the driving to sit down and write. But I've got a bunch of ideas bouncing around in my head that I keep bouncing around on every drive. And so when we get home and finally have a couple of days, I'm looking forward to sitting down with the guitar and the notebook and starting to get some of these ideas out of the head and onto paper. So that's kind of the way I do it quite a bit. Sometimes I'll take the notebook to the coffee house and just sit down and make myself write. But a lot of times I just come up with the ideas on the road and then kind of put them in my memory bank. And then when I get home, I get them all out.
And they all stick in the memory bank?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, now that I've gotten older, when I was younger, I was like, if it's good, I'll remember it. But now I'm like 41. I'm like, well, you know what? I better write something down if I think I'm going to forget it, and so the memory isn't what it used to be. But yeah, that's the main thing is I just keep repeating it, in my head so it doesn't leave. So I keep remembering it,
Yeah.
So I remember the gist of it.
Do you need a particular space to write? You mentioned coffee house. Is that kind of your go-to, or does it matter?
Yeah, I have a lot of history with those. When I first moved to Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, is where ISU is. I wasn't, 21 yet. I wasn't going to the bars or the clubs yet, so I spent a lot of time in the coffee house. And then when I moved to Chicago, I lived in Wicker Park, and right next door is this place called the Filter Cafe, which was a coffee house, and I did a ton of writing in there. So I just I have a lot of history with writing in coffee houses. I don't know why. I just like the vibe and the style of them. I feel at home there just because I've done it so much in the past, and it's kind of like my home away from home sometimes.
Do you, with your writing, do you write other than songs?
I started out like writing in high school study hall, and it was pretty much just poetry. Mm-hmm. And I used to go to like poetry open mics and read poetry. Mm-hmm. My wife was actually as a teacher, used to coach slam poetry. Mm-hmm. So all stuff like that's really been something that we both love. But I guess the poetry and the writing kind of fulfilled all these needs I needed, like emotionally and everything, but I kind of needed like a physical need to add to my poetry. So when I started playing guitar, that was kind of it. Got to put the poetry into motion, and now it's kind of like it all flows out in the perfect way that I like.
I played this open mic the other day where I'd never read a poem on stage, and I had been and I was messing around with this song that like it's about my grandmother, but I couldn't figure it out. Like I was stuck. I had the idea, and there were pieces of it that made sense to me, but it just wasn't flowing. And so I knew I was going to play, and I was going to play something that I hadn't played before live. And I thought, what the hell with it? I'm going to just treat this unfinished song as performance poetry. And so I got up and I led with that. And I read it. I didn't have it memorized. I read it, but still, it unlocked something. And then I went home that night and finished the song.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. What do you play?
I write kind of folk songs. I mean, the stuff that I write is all social justice related for the most part, and nice. It's relatively new discipline for me. It actually started, like, I've messed around with it for a while, but I did a phoner like this for a bonus episode with Amy McCarley. a year ago.
Cool.
And at the end of it, I had talked about how kind of anxious I was about playing my songs for other people. And she pushed me to do it, to play for other people. And then she's like, I'm going to follow up with you and see if you did it. And she did. She followed up with me to make sure I did it. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And so since then I've been writing and playing out fairly often. And yeah, it's been fun.
That's great, man. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that led to your song. And I think from time to time I'll do like a spoken word, and I've always liked seeing that in like live performances too.
Mm-hmm.
I've just seen a random act, like, you know, maybe do like a spoken word, or maybe do like something a cappella,
mm-hmm.
you know, like anybody from Billy Strings to, you know, Fish to my friends at Hen House Prowlers, like a bluegrass band. It really mixes up a show really nicely when you just break it down and maybe put the instrument down for a minute and do like a spoken word or something a cappella. You know, I think it adds a cool vibe to the show too.
Well, and the performance, like you've been on tour with Todd, and Todd Snider is the master at that.
yeah, he's got some amazing rambles, and we're on show 10 of 11, and we've heard so many good rambles, and he knocks his rambles out of the park every night. It's so great.
He's amazing. He's not only one of my favorite songwriters, but he's probably my favorite stand-up comedian.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, for this line of work, it's the best job in the world, getting to, you know, play 40 minutes of your songs and then turn around and watch him do his thing all night. It's every night has been a different experience. Yeah, man, he has a way with words, and he has a way with stories and songs. It's an honor. It's an honor to get to play these shows with him, for sure.
Well, and he's got nice things to say about you. He's been quoted saying some really nice things about you too. It's just got to feel good. Have you learned lessons watching him? Are you picking up things about performance or about writing from him?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can learn more from watching him in like 6 or 7 nights than, you know, doing 6 or 7 months on my own on the road. You know, it's literally. I think he's the best troubadour, best living troubadour. You know, a lot of the big names, you know, have bands behind them now. You know, there's not very many people that are filling theaters and going out and killing it every night just with their guitar and their harmonica. You know, it's kind of it's not happening much anymore. So I'm trying to keep that alive, and being able to do it, you know, open up for him each night is the best learning experience you can have.
Yeah, well, it's so hard, but if you have something to say, which you do, and he does, then it's going to come through. And so, you know, that resonates.
I think it is. I think it is.
And speaking of resonates, Dirtiest Uniforms off of Flyover Country really resonates with me. I just feel like I can connect so deeply with those characters. I was the guy with the dirtiest uniform. You know, and I think that rings true of many of the listeners to the Marinade too. I feel like those are the kind of folks that are drawn to the show. Were you that guy? Were you the dirtiest uniform guy, or are you do you think of yourself as the dirtiest uniform kind of guy?
I think so. Yeah, I've I guess I've been kind of emerging, but I've been emerging for like 15 years. You know, so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I haven't given up, and I've kind of stuck true to what I wanted to do, and I've definitely taken inspiration from people in that song, and like my grandparents and people in my hometown, and I think I've stayed true to my roots and just kept at it. You know, I don't know if it's hard work or just stubbornness or a good mix of both, but I have both. There's nothing else I want to do. This is, you know, it's still 41. I'm 41, and the dream's still alive. So
right. I love that. I never really connected hard work and stubbornness, because I get accused of being stubborn, and of course I'm not.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about that. That's my new comeback, I think. Is that no, I'm not stubborn. I'm just hardworking. Damn it.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
You chose to cover Hank Williams. Everything else is your stuff, and then you covered Hank, and you did an outstanding job on it, man. It's just like captured that haunting character that you kind of want from Hank's songs, that haunting kind of feel to them. Why that one? Why that particular one?
Well, really, like I was kind of into like the Nirvana and the Pearl Jam when I was in high school. That's all I was listening to was stuff like that, kind of the grunge alternative movement, a little bit of punk rock and like heavier stuff. And I remember I heard my buddy's dad playing some Hank Williams songs on an acoustic guitar, and that really just knocked me over. I love the sound of that. And kind of around that time is kind of when like Nirvana Unplugged happened and things like that. And so I was kind of noticing all this real true grit coming out of these acoustic instruments, but even like Nirvana Unplugged, I felt like that was kind of like a folk album.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always kind of wanted to blend both. I kind of like the passion that went into the grunge music. And, to me, it wasn't the greatest music ever made, but it had a lot of passion.
Right.
It was really raw and gritty, and it had kind of some angst to it. And then paired with these hardship but beautiful Hank Williams songs, I kind of wanted to blend those together. And, at the time, that acoustic kind of country music, I started blending with like the grunge music that I like. So kind of when we recorded the song, I kind of wanted the front half to be kind of the country haunting vibe, and then kind of add kind of the angsty grungeness to the end of it. And the guy who I learned Hank Williams from and got me into that passed away in the last couple of years too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a tribute to him too. But I like the way it builds, and another reason to just have the Heathens, because like I said, they can play that haunting slow stuff, and then they can just turn around and rock and roll and kind of rip your head off.
Yeah.
So which I love.
Right. Yeah. All of those elements. And then you close the record with the Village Revisited, which I've been trying to figure out what my favorite tune on this record is. That might be it. I think it's perfect, of course, in the sequencing of the record.
Right on. Well, thanks.
Yeah. It feels great, man. It just makes you want to sing along, which is a handful of these tunes do. I mean, Indiana Line is clearly one that if people aren't already singing along at your shows, I'm sure they will be soon enough. And definitely Village Revisited, just full of tunes like that have a lot to say and that also make you want to kind of join in.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I felt like there was a little bit of, protest, political, social things happening, like in like Mother Nature's Daughter and a song called Collars. Mm-hmm. And but it wasn't the theme of this album, I don't think. Like maybe it was Midwest Side Stories and some other things too, but I always want to make sure I put that in there at the same time.
Right.
Having some feel good sing-alongs as well, So I felt like it was a good mix on this one, as far as the personality and the vibes that were happening.
Well, it's such an important time to do that, right? I mean, it's such nobody listening to this show is a shut up and sing kind of person. We're all kind of on the same page that music needs to be a vehicle for social change and needs to be where we have these conversations, and artists should have something to say both on the mic and off the mic, whether I agree with it or not, I want to hear it.
Yeah, and I feel like at the same time, every time I hear an artist do an interview or talk or do anything, they just talk about how divided we are and the division and over and over and over. And I think they try to make a song out of that, and they maybe try a little too hard. And sometimes you just got to write a song about, not being able to hit a deer when you're in the sky,
Right.
Sometimes, I mean, I've tried so hard in my early career to write songs that meant something and that were world changing. And sometimes just when you write songs, you just have to have a good time and just have fun with writing a song too that means, doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I've been starting to do that a little more, unfortunately or fortunately. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know that it's good or bad. I think both are valuable, right? So
yeah.
I think, I'm terrible at it. Everything I write is just like the world is ending, like I try to write a love song. I wrote a love song, and at the end of it, it says that one of the lines is, "If this is the way the world starts ending." And I was like, this is a fucking love song about washing the car in the front yard on a summer day and how happy I was.
Well, it might end any minute, you never know. So
right.
The point is just keep writing, and when you get the muse, whether it's political or love, make sure you get it out.
Cody, I'm picking up like a sound of some sort, like something's bouncing or something.
In my phone?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not hearing it, but
okay. It just went away.
I'll hold more still. All right, good.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome as I expected. It's my pleasure. We always end with what you're consuming at the moment in terms of art. Like, what has you excited? What songs? What films? What maybe a painting you saw, a poem you've read, a book you're reading, whatever it is. What's got you excited right now?
Really just being on tour with Todd Snider. It's about the best art that relates to me the most. Knowing that people want art is also amazing. And going to towns that I've never been to on like a Tuesday night and seeing like lines of people wanting to come in and sit down and listen to a soul just play guitar and sing about life. It's pretty inspiring. And also what is inspiring me right now is my wife is sitting right next to me, and my wife makes guitar string jewelry, which is pretty kick-ass. And instead of like these strings that we use going into a landfill, my wife takes them and turns them into pieces of art.
That's
and
beautiful.
Jewelry and pendants. So it's really cool. It's called Twice Upon a String.
Awesome.
And she gets strings from Todd and myself and Elizabeth Cook and Green Sky Bluegrass and Billy Strings, and she's been knocking it out every night selling pendants, and she gives 20% of her earnings to music and art therapy programs where we're from and all over. So she is my inspiring artist that's with me every day.
That's incredibly inspiring. Where can folks find what is it, Twice Upon a String?
Yeah, it's called Twice Upon a String. TwiceUponAString.com, or she's on Facebook and Instagram too.
Awesome.
So yeah, we have our own little family traveling art and craft and music life.
That's so beautiful, man. Cody,
yeah,
this
it's
has
pretty
been
wild.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, and I hope we get back to Florida. We had a great time at that music hall. It was really cool, and we've been bumming around all over Florida really for the first time we've ever toured, and so we're going to be back. So I hope we'll have to hang out, maybe write a political song that'll change the world.
Oh my
together.
God, I'd lose my mind. That sounds amazing. Yeah, I'm so bummed I missed y'all. Ponte Vedra Concert Hall is one of my favorite venues anywhere. It's, for folks listening, if you haven't been, it's an old church. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. That's where you guys were playing, right? Ponte Vedra?
Yeah, and it was it was gorgeous. It sounded great. And I think the night before us was the Indigo Girls, and two nights after us was Robert Earl Keen. So they get some amazing. It's the lineup in there. The schedule is amazing. Yeah, I definitely highly recommend anybody nearby.
Yeah,
check it out.
Yeah, it's great. So. I've seen the McCurrys there. I've seen Steve Earle there. I saw Neutral Milk Hotel there.
Oh wow, yeah. See, that's amazing. That's some great variety right there. I love it.
Yeah. Well, man, record comes out on February 7th. That's next week for us, but for people listening to this, it came out 2 days ago. So if you haven't gotten it yet, go get it. And check out Cody at Chicago Farmer at all the social media and everything else. And man, break a leg tonight, and thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for doing what you do, man. You take care.
My pleasure. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye.